Intellectually disabled. People with intellectual disabilities have IQ scores below 70, and honestly, life throws them some pretty serious curveballs. We're talking about those who might struggle with things that seem automatic to most of us, like remembering to turn off the stove, understanding that you need to pay for things at the store, or figuring out how to use a smartphone. These aren't just oops moments. Imagine trying to read a book when the letters keep dancing around, or trying to have a conversation when words feel like they're stuck in molasses. Daily tasks like getting dressed can be genuinely challenging. Buttons might as well be rocket science. And shoelaces, they're like the final boss of the clothing world. But here's the thing that'll surprise you. Many people in this category have incredible emotional intelligence and can form deep, meaningful relationships. They just need more support with the technical stuff of life. Borderline. It's kind of like being stuck in intellectual limbo. Those with an IQ 70 to 79 can handle most daily tasks. They can dress themselves, make a sandwich, and hold down simple jobs. But abstract thinking? Yeah, that's where things get spicy. Picture trying to understand why someone would say it's raining cats and dogs when there are clearly no pets falling from the sky. Metaphors and sarcasm can be genuine head-scratchers. They might take things very literally, which honestly, in today's world of confusing social media posts, might actually be a superpower. School was probably rough. While other kids were solving algebra, they were still wrestling with long division. But give them a routine job they understand, and they'll show up every day, on time, and do it better than half the people with higher IQs who are too busy checking Instagram. Low average. Almost there, club! These are the people with IQ 80 to 89 who can definitely function in society, but might need to work a bit harder than others, playing a video game on hard mode while everyone else is on normal. They can absolutely learn new skills, hold conversations, and live independently, but complex problem solving feels like trying to solve a Rubik's Cube while wearing mittens. Reading between the lines in social situations can be tricky. They might miss subtle hints and need people to be more direct. School might have been a struggle, especially with abstract subjects like advanced math or philosophy, but put them in a hands-on job and they often excel. These are your reliable mechanics, dedicated nurses, and customer service reps who actually care about helping you.
Average. The sweet spot. IQ 90 to 109, where most of humanity lives. If intelligence levels were a bell curve, which they literally are, this is the chunky middle where about 50% of people hang out. These folks are your neighbors, your co-workers, your friends who can hold perfectly normal conversations about everything. You can follow a GPS, understand why pineapple on pizza is controversial, and you probably know that reply all is usually a bad idea. They can learn new skills at a reasonable pace, handle most jobs with proper training, and navigate social situations without major disasters. They might not be solving quantum physics over breakfast, but they can definitely figure out how to use new apps, manage their finances, and remember where they put their car keys, most of the time. This is the group that keeps society running smoothly. They're teachers, managers, skilled workers, and parents who raise the next generation. Nothing fancy, but absolutely essential. I'll be honest, I probably belong here most days, especially Monday mornings before coffee. High average. These people, IQ 110 to 119, are noticeably sharper than average. They're the ones who actually read the instruction manual, can figure out IKEA furniture without having a mental breakdown, and might even enjoy doing crossword puzzles for fun. Weirdos, right? They typically did well in school without having to study until 3 a.m. every night. They can handle complex jobs, understand nuanced arguments, and are probably the friends you call when you need help with something technical. They're also more likely to question things instead of just accepting them, which can be both helpful and incredibly annoying depending on the situation. These folks often become middle management, skilled professionals, or successful small business owners. Yet you're like the kid in class who gets B+ without really trying, which is both impressive and mildly annoying to everyone else. Gifted. IQ 129 to 130, gifted individuals are like mental athletes. They process information faster, see patterns others miss, and can juggle multiple complex ideas without their brain short-circuiting. In school, they were either the teacher's pet or the kids staring out the window because they finished their work in 5 minutes and were bored out of their minds. They might have been reading college-level books in middle school or solving math problems that made other kids cry. But being gifted can actually be kind of lonely. Imagine trying to explain why you find tax law fascinating to someone who thinks watching paint dry is more entertaining. They often struggle with perfectionism and can be their own worst critics. Many successful entrepreneurs, doctors, lawyers, and engineers fall into this category. They have enough intelligence to excel, but are still grounded enough to relate to regular humans. You're smart enough to see solutions others miss, but sometimes you overthink ordering at restaurants.
Genius. IQ 130 to 139, where only about 2% of the population gets to play. These are the people who make the rest of us feel like we're operating with dial-up internet while they're running on fiber optic cables. Stephen Hawking, Marie Curie, or Leonardo da Vinci. People who don't just understand complex concepts, but actually push the boundaries of human knowledge. They see connections others miss, can hold incredibly complex ideas in their heads simultaneously, and often think several steps ahead in any situation. But genius comes with its own set of problems. They might struggle with social situations, not because they can't understand them, but because they're analyzing 17 different layers of subtext while everyone else is just trying to order coffee. They can also be prone to existential crises because, well, when you can see all the problems in the world clearly, it's a bit overwhelming. Highly gifted. Now we're in rarefied air. Less than 1% of people reach this IQ 140 to 159. These individuals don't just think differently, they think in entirely different dimensions. While most of us are playing checkers, they're playing 4D chess, blindfolded, against multiple opponents while composing a symphony in their head. Albert Einstein is the poster child for this level. The man could visualize riding alongside light beams and turn that daydream into the theory of relativity. These people often struggle in traditional education systems because they're so far ahead that standard curricula feel like intellectual torture. They might have trouble with seemingly simple tasks, not because they can't do them, but because they're simultaneously considering 17 different ways to optimize the process. Asking them what they want for lunch might result in a 20-minute analysis of nutritional values, supply chain ethics, and the socioeconomic implications of food choices. Profoundly gifted. These individuals are so rare that there might only be a few thousand in the entire world. IQ 160 plus. We're talking about people like Terence Tall, who was solving university-level math problems at age 8, or Christopher Hirata, who was working with NASA on Mars colonization plans while most kids his age were trying to figure out middle school lockers. Their minds work in ways that are almost incomprehensible to the rest of us. They can see patterns and make connections that seem like magic. But with great power comes great isolation. Imagine being the only person in the room who understands the joke, the problem, and the solution, all while everyone else is still trying to figure out what language you're speaking. Many struggle with basic social interactions because their brains are constantly running calculations and analyses that have nothing to do with small talk about the weather. Polymath. Now we're moving beyond just raw IQ into different types of intellectual superpowers. A polymath is someone who's basically collected expertise in multiple fields, like their Pokemon cards. Leonardo da Vinci is the ultimate example. Painter, inventor, scientist, engineer, mathematician, and probably would have been great at TikTok if it had existed in the Renaissance. These people don't just know a lot about one thing. They know a lot about everything and can connect ideas across completely different fields. They might solve a physics problem using insights from music theory or approach a business challenge with principles from biology. The downside? They can be impossible to have dinner with because they'll somehow connect your pasta choice to quantum mechanics, Renaissance art, and modern agricultural practices all in one conversation. Visionary. Visionaries are the people who look at the world and see not just what is, but what could be. Steve Jobs, who didn't just see computers as tools, but envisioned them as extensions of human creativity. Or Nikola Tesla, who was basically living in the future while everyone else was still figuring out electricity. These individuals have the rare ability to imagine entirely new possibilities and then actually make them happen. They're not just smart, they're smart in a way that changes the world. While most of us see problems, they see opportunities. While we see limitations, they see potential. But being a visionary can be incredibly frustrating because you're constantly trying to explain ideas that won't make
make sense to others for another decade or two. Tesla died poor and largely ignored, only to be recognized as a genius long after his death. And finally, we reach the transcendent level, a theoretical pinnacle that's less about IQ scores and more about a completely different way of processing reality. These would be individuals who don't just understand the world, but seem to operate on a completely different plane of existence. Figures like Buddha or Einstein in his later years. People who somehow manage to tap into insights about the nature of reality itself. They're not just solving problems, they're redefining what the problems actually are. At this level, intelligence becomes almost mystical. These individuals might struggle with everyday tasks, not because they can't do them, but because they're simultaneously aware of the cosmic insignificance and infinite significance of buttering toast. The funny thing about reaching this level is that it often loops back to simplicity. They become so intellectually advanced that they start speaking in parables and simple truths that sound obvious but contain layers of meaning most of us will spend lifetimes trying to understand. So, which level do you think you're at? Drop it in the comments.